Hey friends, welcome to Gentle January. This is our antidote to the optimization style January that most of us are used to. And today we are talking about mindful breathing. If you're wondering, Lauren, why are we talking about breathing? Breathing is like the lowest hanging fruit. Well, kind of, but I would say that most of us have not taken a deep breath regularly in a long time. So today we're going to dive into mindful breathing, how that looks, what the benefits are, and we're going to do some mindful breathing together. Before we fully get into this, I want to remind you that this is meant to be inspiration, not a prescription. So if you are someone who is really good at mindful breathing, you are like a breathwork badass, you taught Wim Hof everything he knows, and if you don't know who Wim Hof is, it's okay. You don't even need to look it up, okay? That might be you. That might be what you do. You might actually have a mindful breathing practice. You might be able to take the deepest breaths in the world. I don't know. But if you are that person, please leave us a comment, leave us some feedback, because we want to hear more from people like you. This is a practice for me that I have to actually think about and implement for myself. It is not automatic. So if you are someone who's really, really good at mindful breathing, please let us know your secrets. You may also be someone who has chronic allergies or asthma, always feels a little bit congested, can't breathe out of one nostril like 90% of the time. And you may be thinking like, oh, breath work is not for me because I'm just trying to get breath in my body. And that's not necessarily true. And we're also going to work on how to mindfully breathe even with 30% of your nostril unclogged. Something that maybe some of you can identify with and is really the reason that I practice mindful breathing is that my entire life I was told to hold my belly in to appear smaller, thinner, I don't know, maybe more ladylike, but the act of holding your belly in, the act of sucking your belly in actually impedes your ability to breathe properly. So when you think about it, diet culture and beauty standards and the practice of being smaller actually takes us away from our most basic human function, which is breathing. Whatever the case may be, we could all benefit from a little mindful breathing. And additionally, you've been breathing well enough this far to get you here, so congratulations, you are not a lost cause. Gentle January is all about diving in, getting a little bit more mindful, getting curious, and making small changes that could make a big difference in your life along the way. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to talk about breathing. Okay, so you may laugh at this, but I actually wrote down in my notes when I was thinking about this, what are the benefits of breathing? Okay. What I mean by that is, what are the benefits of having good breath mechanism, a good practice, and being connected to your breath? Obviously, the benefits of breathing are that you're here and you're alive. We've already covered that. Learning to breathe deeper, learning to breathe more connected, learning to take deeper breaths could actually help you with relaxation, help you with your blood pressure, anxiety, a lot of other things that come up when we're not breathing or taking in enough oxygen. I've worked in fitness a decade this year. So I've been around a lot of people moving and working out and needing to breathe. And the importance of your breath when you're exercising is really obvious. When you are doing things like heavy lifting or cardio of any kind, actually, you need to be taking in a lot more oxygen to power your muscles. So if you've ever felt self-conscious for being out of breath when you're exercising, this is just the perfect reminder that you don't need to be, because your muscles are requiring more oxygen from you when you're working them out. If you're out of breath, it's because your body is trying to get you to take more breath and get more oxygen into your muscles, into your body. Knowing how to breathe while you're exercising is super important because it will keep your heart rate a little bit more stable. I've talked about this when I'm teaching, but I actually am pretty connected to my heart rate, and in between sets or in between movement, I'm able to take conscious breaths and bring my heart rate back down. And of course, that doesn't apply to everyone, particularly if you were someone with something like POTS. It's really hard to control those spikes, but mindful breathing could still be for you. It doesn't mean it's going to look the same as it does when I'm consciously lowering my heart rate through breath, because that might be different in your body because your body is different than mine. But it's still worth trying, And obviously, we're not talking about breathing just in the form of exercise. We all do it all day. So even outside of exercise, learning to work with your breath, learning to take nice deep breaths could help you relax, get more oxygen to your brain. If you're ever super sleepy, maybe you take a deep breath, you do a yawn, you get more oxygen to your brain, and it can also help with anxiety. Additionally, taking mindful breaths, learning to breathe, learning the mechanisms that help your body breathe can help with conditions like asthma and COPD that obstruct the breath. I know that also seems a little bit contradictory because those things are really working against taking deep breaths, but mindful breath practices can overall help improve things like asthma and COPD. All right, just a little pulse check here. Have you started thinking about how you're breathing already? Because every time I talk about breath work, every time I talk about mindful breathing, I suddenly forget how to breathe regularly, and I'm just looking around wondering if I'm doing it right. If that's not you, congratulations. Maybe you're a little less anxious than I am, but we're gonna move on to the science of breathing. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lung expert, but we are getting some of our information from the Lung Association. And the number one suggestion for breathing and having more restorative breath was to breathe through your nose. All right. I know some of you are going to take that very personally because you may be a chronic allergy haver or someone with a deviated septum, or just like your nose is clogged a little bit and it gets on your nerves. Whatever it is, it's not that serious. We're going to work on it together. But breathing through your nose is the ideal way to get in touch with your breath work and take some deep breaths. The reason that breathing through your nose is more beneficial is because the act of breathing through your nose actually warms the air that's coming in and causes it to be a little bit more humid. So it's a little nicer when it hits your body. And also, breathing through your nose passes a signal to your brain that's a little bit more relaxing than breathing in through your mouth. Not to mention your nose is like a little filter. So when you breathe through your nose, you're able to filter. There's a bug in here. You're filtering out the air that's coming in, potentially dust, particles, whatever. When you breathe through your nose, you are most likely getting a healthier breath than breathing through your mouth where there is no filter. We all know my mouth has no filter. The next part of this breath mechanism is a little bit more complicated for a lot of people, but your body is supposed to expand when you breathe. I know that seems obvious, but like we discussed earlier, a lot of us have been keeping ourselves small for one reason or another, which doesn't allow our breath to fully expand in our body, which means we're not getting the best breath we could get. When you take a deep breath, it's not just your chest that is supposed to move. It's not just supposed to be up here. You're supposed to feel this in your belly, and the front and back of your body are meant to expand to allow oxygen to fill your lungs. So when you breathe, you are not just supposed to feel it up here. You're supposed to feel it in your belly and even in your pelvic floor. Most of us have heard of belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, but a lot of us are not doing it in our daily lives. I will tell you that I am not doing it most of the time. I catch myself breathing like very often. The interesting thing about this is that short breath feels very efficient. It feels very normal. It feels very regular for me, at least. But when you learn to properly belly breathe or diaphragmatic breathe, it actually uses less energy. It is more efficient for your body to take deep breaths that go all the way into your belly and expand your body out than it is to take those shallow breaths, which is probably why when you're taking those shallow breaths super often, you feel more anxious because you're not getting what you need. So the good news is you could practice your breathing from anywhere. It doesn't need to be that serious. And the more you practice, the more aware you will become of when you're not doing it. The more you practice taking deep breaths, slowing your breath, connecting with your body and your breath, the more you will be able to recognize when you're out there in the world, like, I have not taken a deep breath in forever, and that's probably why I feel like a rabbit that's being chased. We're going to practice together. Wherever you are watching this, listening to this, if you can, find somewhere comfortable that you could get a little bit relaxed. And if that's not right now, this is not the moment, you can save this for later and do it when you can feel relaxed. You can do this from seated, you could do this from lying down, you can do this from standing, but I think the seated or lying down is the best bet for feeling the most relaxed and being able to connect to your body a little bit more. Before we get into it, if you want to shrug your shoulders, you want to move things out of the way, you need to take a drink of water, you need to blow your nose, whatever it is, make some space for yourself. And I'm going to get into comfy clothes and we're going to take some deep breaths together. Before we take some deep breaths together, it helps me to get a little bit more comfortable. So move things to the side. Maybe you take off your shoes and ground your feet on the floor. Maybe you shimmy in your seat, shake your head back and forth. Whatever you need to do to get a little bit more cozy in your body before we get started. And when you're ready, and if you're able, you could put a hand on your heart and a hand on your belly. You could also just draw your energy and attention to those areas of your body. Take a slow inhale through your nose and allow your belly to expand like a balloon. You may feel your chest rise a little bit towards the end of your inhale, but focus on filling up the space below your chest first. You can hold at the top of your breath for a second and then let it out through pursed lips if you can. You can repeat that from seated a few times, or you can make your way to the floor, and we could try this lying down on the floor. If you choose to come to the floor, make sure you feel comfortable. I'm coming to the floor with bent knees. My feet are flat on the floor, and my head, shoulders, and upper ribs are fairly comfortable here. I'm repeating the process of bringing a hand to my belly and a hand to my heart. And then through my nose, I'm taking a slow and deep inhale. You can actually see my belly rising here, holding at the top, and then exhaling slowly out of my mouth. I think it's actually easier to feel your body expand in either direction from the floor because you could feel the back of your body pressing into the floor beneath you. Reminder that you do not have to be on the floor. You could do this from bed and feel your body press into your mattress. Wherever you are, take a few more deep breaths, feeling your belly expand and contract. Remembering to take that slow inhale through your nose, hold at the top for a second, and then exhaling it out through your mouth. And when you're ready, you could let your breath fall back into its more regular pattern. All right, we're back. I hope that taking some deep breaths together actually felt good for you. And if it did, or if something came up, I would love to hear about it. Thank you again for being here for Gentle January. Not only is this a love letter to myself and to other folks who are looking to start the year out a little bit slower and a little bit more mindful, but it is also a creative practice and a creative endeavor in long form content for me, particularly because I am committed to letting the ideas flow from my brain either to the blog or to the vlog. Over the past couple years, I have seen these short, quick, quippy little viral moments hit for a lot of people. And I wanted to emulate that for a long time, but I realized that that is just not where my brain and my content is headed. There's a lot of chat GPT and chatbot AI generated content going on right now. And that just doesn't feel good to me. And I don't necessarily want to participate in that anymore. So Gentle January is a chance for me to slowly transition into something that feels more authentic and more real for someone like me. If you are here and you are enjoying it, or even if you're not enjoying it, but you're here and you're putting up with me anyway, I am so grateful for you and I can't wait to continue doing this with you. Thanks so much for being here. Talk to you soon. Love you so much. Bye.